This is other state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IAwrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IAwrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IAwrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. I'm your host, Tony Hager, alongside with Ross Bartachek. We are gearing up for the Night of Conflict, the Night of Conflict 3 at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Man, I feel like we just started doing the matches like a couple weeks ago. This time has flown through getting this event set up. It takes a ton of time to get these matches set up. And luckily, we haven't had any injuries or anything like that, so cross your fingers that everything is good to go. Programs are printed. We already caught one mistake. Gear's ordered, but hopefully everything is good to go with our kids' health, and that'd be the worst case scenario for someone to get injured, and then obviously couldn't wrestle in the event. So Ross, let's get right to it, man. We've take a couple weeks off to focus. All our time is really tonight of conflict, but right now we are 9 days away from the event. What's up?
Like you said, man, we've been focusing everything on getting ready. I'm pretty pumped up about Rudis coming back to town. I don't know about you. What do you think of it? Yeah,
last year they got us a pretty sweet logo, the unbelievable gear, and they put on it's an event when they come to town. So they're gonna have all kinds of gear for people this year. We got IAwrestle hats that will be going out to exclusive VIP members for the tickets. So I'm pretty excited about that. There's actually 20 tickets left of those. So those are going pretty hot, and I think we'll sell the rest of those here in the coming weeks. So you can get an IAwrestle hat, autographed Hawkeye Wrestling Club poster, exclusive Night of Conflict. Nice little, it's a little thick. I don't know, you got them in your hand. Are they nice and thick? I mean, are they better quality? Holy cow, those suckers are posters, son.
I was just gonna say, can you hear through the microphone?
I can hear it.
It's not just paper. It's actual. Yeah, it's got some good weight to it. I think they really nice finished product. I don't know who did them for you, but hats off to them. Regular programs look great too. So just kind of check those over today, and sometime this week I got to head down to Iowa City and get some signatures for our VIP guys.
All right,
and gals,
and gals.
Yeah, I funny story though about you said Rudis is coming. All their great stuff. My wife, I don't know, she was gonna buy something online, some clothes. You know how it always is. They're telling you, I'm gonna get this, and I'm like, whatever. But I said offhanded, like, hey, just remember next week Rudis comes. So, when you want to buy like 3 new quarter zips, 2 new T-shirts, and God knows what else, just remember if you're gonna spend some money now, in a week's time, you're probably gonna be doing it again. So Rudis probably gonna be leaving with a little bit of Bartachek money when they leave Iowa.
Yeah, you got Rudis gear is strong. I mean, my wife has some soft tees too, and she enjoys them. So excited to see what they're going to come. I know I've seen the black shirts that is exclusive to the Night of Conflict, but they've got new and fresh gear every year from Rudis. And so I want to start off the show though here. Night of Conflict is coming up, but you've previewed Iowa, Northern Iowa, Iowa State, up and down the lineup. You've released this here for the last month or so. So you did the last of Northern Iowa on Tuesday. You got Iowa State still to come here.
Yeah, and Nick Ryder, our UNI guys, all of our UNI fans know who Nick is. He's always in the West Gym doing stuff. He helped me out with the last 2 for UNI, so big thanks to him because it's not easy knocking out 15. I think I did 2 weights. at a time. So it's not easy knocking out that many, even though you're only doing one a week. It's just it's a lot to do. That I try to make it, all encompassing. So give you some looks at the in depth of the lineup, who's there, who's behind them, who to keep an eye on in the future, who's going to redshirt and whatnot. So yeah, it was a lot of fun breaking it down. Iowa State should be up Wednesday morning, depending on when you're listening to this. It's already up. And then Iowa should be up either Thursday, Friday. Haven't really figured that one out yet, but
I liked how you just did 2 weights at a time. When we used to, when I was at Black Heart Gold Pants and some Hawkeye Nation, Hawkeye Report stuff, we used to do like all 12. We used to all do 10 weights in one article, and it just was so much to read. So I appreciate just having the 2 weights to look over. So hopefully the fans do too.
Yeah, and that's why you kind of put a link at the top to link you back to where all the other ones are at, so that you like you said, I get annoyed when I have to scroll a lot in an article, and it's just kind of nice to have everything boom right there. And if you want to read about specific weights, you can kind of zone in on those. And if you're feeling comfortable and don't really need to read about, you don't want to hear us drone on and on about Kane and Storr, maybe you skip that one because god dang, we really love his potential for Iowa State. So just kind of, you can pick your poison this way.
And some other news that came out here that we should probably touch on. We talked about transfers like a couple times here in the last 5 episodes that we've had and caught some grief. And here's one that's coming from out of state. I mean, Louisiana, of all places to come to Iowa. It's crazy little... From what I'm trying to gather, kind of why this kid's a 3-time state champion. His name is Josh Ramierz. He's a 3-time state champion out of Louisiana, and he's coming to Dubuque Walhert, his senior year. I mean, what were your thoughts when we saw we broke the news?
Initially, I was trying to figure out who this guy was. You kind of just text, "Hey, what do you guys know on him?" So. Obviously, the first thing you do is you pull up Flow, you pull up Track, and you see what he's done. And you find out the guy's, freestyle All-American at Fargo, freestyle All-American at UWW Cadets. I think you then pointed out to me he beat Marcus Coleman. So obviously we know how good Coleman is and how well he's dominated our state for the last 3-4 years. So obviously the guy coming in, he's great, but I think the biggest question, a lot of people are, they're seeing this potential. We've had a lot of guys come in from out of state. Dayton Racer kind of recently came in from Minnesota, was going to vie for a title, but we kind of want to know what's the story. Why are they coming in? So do you know anything there on, why does a kid from Louisiana pick Iowa? Just kind of seems a little unconnected.
I guess, back to your, you talk about guys coming from out of state and not having success. Yeah, that's definitely something the Iowa fans are always going to say, oh, yeah, Louisiana is different than Iowa. But you got to look at, what he did at Fargo, beating guys like Marcus Coleman. That guy's dominated Iowa. So I think this kid's going to make an immediate impact. What I know is that he was originally committed to Illinois. And from what I've gathered is something went wrong with the scholarship. Maybe it was pulled from him, and so he's now, he's still talking to Illinois from what he's told me, and he's working to get that credibility back with Illinois. I don't know the details of why maybe it was pulled, but from talking to him, it sounds like he feels like if he can come to Iowa, get his name back up, and he can win a title in Iowa, that's going to give him a lot more looks from some bigger colleges than what if he was at winning a 4-state title at Louisiana, which is probably true. I mean, he's the first 3-timer in Louisiana state history. I believe he's the first UWW All-American as well. So these things are new to Louisiana, so college coaches aren't really focusing in on that state tournament. So I don't blame him for coming here. The Walhert connection, that's where a lot of people have said, like, why the heck Walhert, right? I think some of it has to do with it being a Catholic school, so eligibility-wise, he can wrestle right away. Then if he transferred into some of these other schools that we've talked about that are known for getting big transfers in. So I think I think that has something to play into it. And also being in that private school, it sounds like he's had some trouble past. I don't know exactly the details. I didn't get in with him, but get him in that private school and have maybe a little bit more structure. That I think that is why he's doing this. There's also a connection there with T.J. Miller, former. He was in Louisiana. Now he's in Loris, right in the same neighborhood. So there's a connection there. I also heard there's some connection with Millboy at Warburg too. I'm not really sure how that is connected, but I would say the T.J. Miller and the Ramierz family knowing each other a little bit. Maybe they reached out to T.J. What's going on in Iowa? Where should I go? How do I get my life back together? Maybe that's how that got connected. But again, I'm speculating there. So what I know is this guy's going to make an impact, a huge impact at Walhert, because they've got Bartel. He got third last year, and then McDermott also got third. So 160 was where Bartow was, and McDermott was at 182. And Ramierz is telling me he can go anywhere from 160 to 182. So it'll be interesting to see where he decides to go. But that could be a 1-2-3 punch right there for Waller in Class 2A. But 2A is going to be interesting, those upper weight classes.
And the other thing about when you said he's going to come into 2A and you pull up those returning points, you got to think anybody that can hang with Marcus Coleman, anybody that can beat Marcus Coleman. You don't have to give them first place points. But when you look at the returning points and you factor in a guy like his talent, you got to think that, right now, technically, not technically, but if you played the fantasy game, Waller would return more points than like New Hampton, the returning, state runner-up. So Waller definitely just got a lot more interesting. New Hampton, I'm sure, is going to be pretty strong. Obviously, Denver Tripola splitting, that really widened, that broke open the floodgates on the 2A race. So definitely makes Walhert a factor. Just Eastern Iowa, I feel like really just going to own this 2A race.
Oh, for sure. It's really going to it changes kind of where maybe Judge goes. You've got Joe Kelly in there as well. Julian Broderson said he's going to go up to 182. He's really big right now. Registered for 182 for the conflict at Carver, actually. So be interesting to see where some of these guys go now, and if this guy is somebody that can switch things up for where they're willing to cut and whatnot. So 160 is going to be very interesting, and in that 2A race. Anything else really kind of happened? I was trying to think. Upper Iowa got a commit from Jordan Baumler. So yep. Jordan, he's in the Fab 50. So that's a guy that somebody that has been raising his stock ever since he's been at the high school level. So he kind of just came out of nowhere last year. So Upper Iowa can maybe get a guy that is just looking to peak right now. So that's be interesting to see if Upper Iowa can hold on to him. And then Shea Ruffridge, a big fan of ours, he's committed to Grandview. So two guys commit here to in-state schools. So that's always great to keep guys in-state.
Yeah, and Baumler going to Upper Iowa, I feel like they've always had really good luck landing some of the bigger upper weights. Kind of recently, I think about Ryan Parmley. He was a Maquoketa Valley state champion. I think he was maybe even ranked in the top 20 by Flow Wrestling, his senior year. So he's kind of a bigger name. Kind of wanted to do football and wrestling in college in Upper Iowa. A Division II school, Division III schools are going to give you more opportunities to do that. I don't know. I guess I didn't really look in to see if Baumler, I think he's a football player too. I didn't know if he was maybe trying to do that same thing there at Upper Iowa, but Baumler's definitely going to have a good partner to roll with if Parmley's still up there, and he's pretty solid for them. So Upper Iowa, Coach Grimm killing it.
Yeah, a couple good commits there. Let's switch gears to the Night of Conflict, the premier event for preseason here in Iowa. This is our third year doing it. Pretty pumped up. Like I said, we got 20 VIP tickets left. You can check out those. Floor tickets, I think I got 21 left. You can get those at bit.ly/NO3 tickets. So you can get tickets there, or just go to IAwrestle.com, and there's a link to go to directly to that website. So tickets still on sale. You can get tickets at the door, but it's I would say definitely get tickets ahead of time so you don't have to wait in line. We're hoping, in the years past, we haven't had card readers. We've just done cash, and we're hoping to have some card readers rolling this year. Definitely something new that we're going to do this year. Try to do it. But if it takes too much time to do that, then we'll just switch to cash. So bring cash if you're coming, if you're thinking you don't want to buy tickets ahead of time. But it's super easy. You really pay on PayPal, credit card, anything online. You get a ticket in your email, and we scan it right there. You can print it out. You can use it on your phone if you don't want to print it out. Super, super easy with Eventbrite.com. Everything's online right on your mobile. You can get an app for it too. So let's get to the matchups, right? Let's get to the match order. So first off, the very first matchup, we've got Luke Hemmer versus Cade DeVos. I know you were in the mix of getting this matchup set up. This was one of our early matchups that we set prior to Fargo, if I remember right. This was set up before Fargo because I remember Cade was went into Fargo. I believe he was ranked or on the edge of being ranked. And he lost to Runyon there, and I think that's what kind of hurt himself in the rankings. But got Luke Hemmer coming in, cousin of Michael Kemmer there at the University of Iowa. So obviously a tie there into the university.
Yeah, you're right. This was actually the very first match that we knew we had for sure. We had a lot of these Iowa guys, tell us they're interested in a match. So, I mean, we've had a lot of these guys committed to us, I guess you could say, early on, but this was the first one we locked down, put it, we were getting ready to press it out, but, we ended up having to sit on it a little bit. So we were really excited to put this one together. Obviously, Cade's been a name in Iowa forever. You mentioned Luke's, Mike's second cousin, I think is what he actually is. But the more important thing was, we love having young gun kids from Pennsylvania come to this event. And, Luke Hemmer, he's committed to Pitt. So he's obviously, he's got a D1 offer to go wrestle in college. That's obviously pretty significant. They're going to be up at 145 pounds, I think. So that was one thing I really like to hear from Kemmer. Cade, he's going into his junior year, and he just keeps growing. So we got a text saying, hey, Cade's getting a little bit bigger, and I, followed up with Luke. I said, hey, we might be changing weights, and Luke says, hey, man, whatever you want, let's go, let's get this match. So I think he's pretty fired up about it too. So he was kind of like that enthusiasm from DeVos, from Kemmer. They're both sound like they're ready to go. Kemmer's looking to come in and get a marquee win for Young Guns. I think they're 2-1 in Carver in this event. And Cade's looking to, maybe bolster that resume and force Flo to consider put him in the rankings.
I mean, Cade he ended up having a great Fargo, double AA, but losing to Runyon definitely hurt a little bit in that freestyle division. So I think this is definitely an opportunity for him to take down Luke. Luke's number 19 in the country at 138 pounds, two-time PA state medalist. So everyone knows how tough PA is. DeVos got to the finals last year. So I think this is one of our more intriguing matchups. That's why I think I like it being first, because there isn't really a clear favorite or I guess an edge to maybe somebody in the night of conflict. This is really up in the air. And, based off what I saw at Fargo, I do think a lot of it had to do with his head. I think, more time at Southeast Polk that he's had, working in the off season. He's adjusting to this weight, this upper weights. He's been such a small guy all his life. And now, he's getting some muscle on him. I think Cade DeVos is going to run through Luke here at the night of conflict and get Iowa on the board right away. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
On the matchup, that's a tough one. I think, I obviously like Cade's potential, but I think You kind of talk about he's growing into the weight, he's getting muscle, but I think he's still kind of growing into that weight. Whereas Luke, he's older. He's this, the veterans tend to show up at these events. So if I had to lean early, I would probably go Kemmer. Definitely excited to see what Cade can do. But I think I fall on the other side of this one right now. I just think, veterans and young gun, they tend to show up at our event, I feel like. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, too, as far as veterans showing up, we've seen, we'll talk about this guy later, maybe next episode, we'll be talking about him. Aiden Reeves. He's a guy that's been highly ranked, and he came into this event last year. I would say he was out of shape a little bit. I feel like these veterans are more kind of year-round, nonstop guys that are doing the Fargo. These guys that are ranked in the top 20, they're in a little better shape. So, to your point, Luke definitely, I think, would maybe have an edge there just of having some experience. But I think Cade being comfortable in Carver Hawkeye Arena will be crucial. Is he comfortable going into that arena, being the first match? That's a lot of pressure for him. Southeast Polk's going to bring a huge faithful that they always do, but I do think he needs a big match, and this is the big match that he needs to springboard going into this season. So that'll be our first match. Anything else on that matchup?
No, I think you're right. I think it's just, like you said, it's a great match to lead off with just because you're kind of not sure how you feel about it one way or the other. You don't know. You're leaning one way, but you're not feeling confident. I don't think you should be feeling confident one way or the other. I think it's just really great match to start you out with something like that.
Definitely be at the arena right away. And coming up next, the very next matchup will be a guy making his debut in there. And somebody he's gonna be taking on a veteran that's been at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Ankeny's Caleb Ratchin. He's coming in to this matchup, and he's taking on Matt Ramos, who's been on the Fargo stage, been on the big stage. He's ranked 5th in the country from Illinois. He's won the conflict at Carver. He's been the OW at the conflict at Carver, I believe. So this guy is somebody that definitely Caleb has an opportunity to make a name for himself. He's a guy that I feel like is kind of, Drake Ayala stole the show, I would say, at Fargo for those lower weights this year. When Cole in there, and I think Caleb, that's an opportunity for him to come in. What do you think of this matchup?
I think it's another really good matchup. Obviously, I guess probably shouldn't be saying that because I think all of these are really great matchups. But, Matt, you said it. He's done it on the Fargo stage. I think he was runner-up both styles this last year at Cadet. The kicker here with these two is this was the quarterfinal matchup at Fargo in the 106-pound bracket. And, it kind of looked like Rathjen really had a chance to beat Ramos. And when we were looking for guys, we talked to Caleb. We really wanted him to be in the event because, like you said, one of the more promising freshmen coming into the Iowa scene this year. And you're just like, hey, what do you think about maybe trying to get a rematch with Matt Ramos? And he was all on board for it, looking for a little bit of redemption. So that kind of gives a little bit of motivation. You talk about in the last match when you said, these veterans, they come in more in shape. They know what their body needs. And for these younger guys, having a little bit of extra fuel, knowing that, revenge is on the mind can give them that motivation that maybe they would have taken a day off, but they really want to come out and prove something. So this is a really big, matchup for Rathjen to come out. He was really close to beating Ramos, or, he's right there with him at least at Fargo. He's got a lot of length to him that can really frustrate an opponent. And, in a folk style match, I think I really like what he brings in this matchup, and I might pick him actually.
Hey, Caleb, for you high school fans that aren't familiar with the AAU scene or the youth level scene, Caleb's an AAU state champ last year. Been at folk style nationals, placed high. He went 6-0 at cadet national duels and 5-2 in Greco as well. So that he's in the top 15 in the country. Sorry. So he's right there. I feel like he's not a name that a lot of high school fans are aware that's coming up next year in class 3A for Ankeny. So I like this matchup because it's a bit of an unknown. He's kind of like an Aiden Reeves come into his freshman year where there's a lot of hype behind him, but people in Iowa, are familiar with him, but not completely familiar with it. He's not a household name yet. So, and Ramos is going to be kind of, he blew him out at that national dual tournament, 10-0, and then at Fargo, Caleb was able to close the gap 10-7 in the quarterfinals. So I think if you're Ramos, you got to be kind of, it's a good spot for Caleb to be in because you feel like you kind of lost a little step. So it's either motivation for him or he's going to be a little bit more anxious having Caleb come in there because he did close the gap quite a bit.
To me, it's that being on top. I really want to see what he can do in that position. Just kind of for his weight, Caleb kind of reminds me right now of like when we saw Jarrett Deegan come in our first year running this event. He came in and he was so long and he was just frustrating for, guys that are really solid at their weight. There's a reason Matt Ramos is ranked in the top 5 in the country. But when you have to deal with a guy that's just that much longer, has that much more leverage, it just creates a thing that, a lot of these high school wrestlers aren't used to. So definitely really good matchup. Definitely really excited to see what Caleb can do.
So moving on to our next matchup tonight, we'll kick it off with the fan vote got this one, Ross. So I'll be honest with you, we were working on a match for Brody Teskey, and I could not get anybody from 113 to 120 to 126 in the top 8. Brody wanted somebody ranked at, exactly at 8 or above him. Wanted to test himself. He feels slighted because he wasn't able to go to Fargo. And almost everyone turned the match down for one way or another, whether they had other, some I just didn't want the match because they didn't like it. Some just had other obligations going on. I couldn't find anybody. And so that was kind of disappointing. We couldn't get Brody a match. So we've got tons of people that deserve to have a match, honestly, right? I mean, Tyrell Gordon, Julian Broderson, Dugan, Judge. We've got tons of people in the state that I think deserve a match at this point. But so late in the game, we're like, you know what? Let's pick 4 guys that we've been talking about having the event on Twitter. And wow, fans showed up. Over 1,600 votes came in for all 4 guys, but Drew came in almost 800 votes. So overwhelming, 47% of the votes went Drew Bennett's way. So we had to give him a match, and I'm expecting Fort Dodge better show up. They showed up on social media. They got to show up at Carver and cheer on Bennett because he put on a show last year against Dylan D'Amelio. That was one of my favorite matches to see Bennett. He's always been so damn close. He loses in the crunch time, and he almost beat D'Amelio last year, and then state tournament came around. He's beaten all of these guys, Reeves, Biscaglia. He's beaten these guys, but he hasn't been able to beat them when a medal's on the line. So I want Drew Bennett to come into this match, and he's got this is a shot for him to really take off a top 10 opponent in Malik Johnson from Missouri. So what are your thoughts on Drew Bennett's opportunity, and what do you know about? I don't know a lot about Malik Johnson. What do you know about him?
Malik wrestles, obviously comes in from Missouri. Christian Brothers, that high school in Missouri is a pretty well-known high school. They got Josh Saunders is another, I think he's a sophomore as well, like Malik, same weight class. They got DJ Shannon, who's a middleweight guy for them. So they got quite a few nationally ranked guys. They come up to the Independence invite that happens on early in the year. So they're one of the national teams that comes in. And they're just a school that you kind of know from Missouri. Malik is definitely a tough guy. He took out Drew West in the finals at Independence last year. Obviously, we all know how good Drew is. He kind of had his way with the state of Iowa during his career. So I think this is a really good opportunity. You know, you say Malik Johnson's a top 10 wrestler. And looking back last year, both Fort Dodge guys really put on a show for us. Tristan Lara came out and he was unranked and he beat a ranked opponent. I don't think a lot of people were giving Drew Bennett a shot to beat D'Amelio. And there he was. I think he had a 2-1 lead in the match. Then he gave up an escape, and that sent it to overtime. So I think it's a really, really good opportunity for Drew. You say he needs to close in the clutch. This is a good chance. I like his experience. He's old. He's been through this before, and I think he can finally get it done. I just feel like the Fort Dodge guys, even Brody Teskey his freshman year, he came in against Louis Hayes and he was a little overwhelmed, but these Fort Dodge kids have done a really good job of showing up. I think they do a good job getting prepared. I don't know what they really do for their training, but they always come in looking pretty sharp. So I'm liking what I think we're going to see from Drew.
I think they've been up at kind of where they've been training, obviously in the Fort Dodge room, but Team Valley up there, and Fort Dodge got a standalone facility. So I think I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Drew works out there. I know Teskey does. This is an opportunity for Drew to kind of, Brody Teskey isn't at this event. Tristan Lara's not at this event. Kate Lara's not at this event. Ayala's not at this event. This is an opportunity for Drew Bennett to step up Fort Dodge scene and bring home one for the Dodgers. So this is a good opportunity. I'm glad we were able to get the match, and fans obviously showed up in support to get it. I wish we could get Broderson in. He's a state champ. Tyrell Gordon had a hell of a summer for Waterloo. I'm excited to see what he can do. Francis Dugan coming in. He's a top 10 guy in the country. Iowa City West, we don't really, that's another guy, how is he going to do in Iowa? But, a guy that has been able to do it on the national scene. So, big match up there, another opportunity. I think I'm going to go with, if I had to make a prediction, I didn't make a prediction on the last match. I think I'm going to pick Ramos in the last match. And then I think I'm going to pick Drew Bennett in this match just because I feel like that clutch gene is going to click and he's going to get it done. I think a big matchup here. I think it's his opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think Bennett's, he knows what he needs to do. I think they've also been getting a little bit of work in Ames, haven't they? A lot of those guys been traveling to the RTC. Cyclone Regional Training Center there. So he's definitely getting the work. He's getting, he's always had good coaching, but he's getting a little bit, he's getting a different feels, different coaching. And I just like him in this matchup. I don't really have too much of a reason otherwise, other than I've laid out. I just think it's time for Drew Bennett.
Our next matchup, we've got the women hitting the mat. And, 2 years ago, Night of Conflict 1, that's when Rachel Waters she was the first female to step on at a premier event like this anywhere, from I know, other than like this, the national level, as far as, Fargo and in the senior levels to be in an event like this. So, carry the torch. Elena Vederick was here last year. Now, Felicity Taylor went to war at West Gym, put on a show, and then now she's, getting an opportunity at Night of Conflict against Carly Valeroy. So, two girls that are ranked in the top 10 in the country. They have national women's rankings now. Flo, National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I believe USA Wrestling's involved. There's like 3 different people that are involved in this. So we've got a top 10 matchup here in the girls division. Another girl coming up from Missouri, Carly Valeroy. So I'm excited to Felicity put on a show. She's a cross country star. Can't believe that we got her to be in the event. I know that she's training a lot for that, but this is I think she recognizes this is a big opportunity for women's wrestling that continues to grow in the state of Iowa.
Yep, she's the third different female to debut at NOC. We had, like you said, Rachel Waters, Alana Vederick was in the event for us last year. Felicity was in the War at West Gym event, obviously put on a show against Tatum Park, who's another, promising young female in our state. But This will be an interesting matchup for as far as women's go, because you don't really know what you're going to get. 2 years ago when we had Rachel in the event, I thought for sure we were going to see her come out and get a big win, and she was doing just fine until what was it? She just kind of like.
Did she get too high? Did she get too high and fell off I think she got too high and her hips fell off and she ended up on her back and got pinned. I mean, she was up. She was on her way to a major tech fall, if I remember right.
Yeah, so she was, it's just one of those things where you're thinking everything's going right, and then all of a sudden, just one little mental lapse, and you slip a little bit here or there, and you wind up on your back. So that's kind of why I'm hesitant, because these girls, they're so good, and they'll take advantage of any openings. You saw, Rona Heaton do it last year. She really, it's kind of seemed like Vederick maybe. I don't know if she just didn't show up or what, but it just, Rona really took advantage of some positions to really put big lead on Vederick, and something like that, early laps can really change a match that you would think would be tighter. So I'm really thinking this will be a fun matchup to see. Don't really know which way it'll go. I have a hard time picking this matchup. I don't think I can make a really good prediction.
Yeah, last year, Heaton was such a huge favorite over Vederick. I mean, she knew that too. She knew they're friends, world champion. I mean, so she was an overwhelming favorite going in that match last year, and Vederick, hung in there. Didn't get the job done, but this is a different matchup. These two girls are similar accolades as far as, what they're been doing at Fargo. And body bar and whatnot. So I think this one is really a toss-up. I can't give anybody the nod here. Obviously, Felicity being in Iowa, I know Jess Philippus is going to be coaching her along with Allie Reagan. So those two girls are pretty pumped to be coaching her in the corner. So that obviously got to go with our homegrown girl here in Felicity Taylor. So let's go to our next match. Our next matchup will be Kyle Biscaglia versus Jace. Is it Kozler? Kozler.
That's what I would say.
Kansas.
We're terrible at pronouncing names. I'm potentially dangerous. We own it.
Shares called me out. Acting like I was going for Jason Bryant's job, which I would never want.
Never dream of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like having spelling mistakes, but I'm perfectly fine with butchering names. That's pretty clear. So let's get to this matchup here against Kyle and Jace. Man, when this got set up, these are two contrasting styles. Kyle Biscaglia is methodical, and he doesn't give up a lot of points. He's almost in every single match, whether it's a kid that's ranked 15th or a kid that's ranked second. It's really, really close. And trying to open up that gap. And Jace is a different animal. This is a guy that racks up points. He's got tons of accolades behind him too. So this is a big matchup for Kyle here. Number 9, Jace is number 9 and Kyle's number 8. I mean, there's new rankings now, right? Where are they at now?
I think it is something like it's. I know Jace is in the top 10. I want to say you're right with number 9, and Kyle might be number 18.
So they're both top 20 ranked wrestlers in the country, and I think Kyle just. I'm nervous for him, because I'm always nervous when he wrestles. I just feel like he never opens up. And this boy from Kansas is, double All-American at Fargo. He's going to have that advantage, I think, over Kyle in freestyle, when we're talking about the push-out rule, which we are doing at this event again. And we'll get to kind of how we're going to change things up in overtime. But double AA, Jace Kozler. So I think Biscaglia is going to be... I think it's going to be interesting to see how this goes in a folk style match. So, but Biscaglia majored him at the Classic, so I mean he's got a win over Jace previously. We'll just see who did the most work this summer.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with Biscaglia is like you said that Jace might have the advantage in freestyle, but Kyle's so tough on top. I think that's going to be a big factor. I don't know how much. Jace Kozler scouts a guy, but maybe depending on the match situation, going down underneath might not be his smartest move if it's a tight match, which we've seen Kyle wrestle time and time again. This is Biscaglia's return to the Night of Conflict. He was in the first event. He beat
Phippen? Was it Phippen?
Yep, Cody Phippen. Yep, I don't know why I blanked his name there, but and that was a tight match. So it's just you never really see, like you said, Kyle open it up. So I really don't know if I expect it this time, even though the last meeting was a major. I don't know. It's hard to pick against Kyle in a tight match. He's, like you said, he's always hanging in there, and I think he can do it. But this is a tough one. This is probably the toughest one.
They're just two contrasting styles. I mean, this was 2015 when Kyle beat him. So if Kyle has if he can open up those attacks from his feet, he'll be fine. But if he stays in a box, then Jace is gonna he's gonna push him around a little bit, and he's gonna get a couple push outs. I think those push outs are gonna be huge in this match as Jace is pushing the action. So Kyle, though, he's really good at lowering his level and moving his feet around the mat. So that'll be interesting to see how this one goes down. But talk about a guy who needs to raise his recruiting stock is Kyle Biscaglia. Everyone's want to know where the heck he's going. He's been 113 pounds. He's hopefully going up a weight class here. I'll end up seeing where he's going. He needs to go up to raise that recruiting stock. So this is a huge opportunity for him to get in that top 10 of Flow rankings, and I'm sure Intermat as well. So big opportunity for Kyle Biscaglia. So that's those are going to be the first 5 weight classes of the Night of Conflict, and we're going to break down the rest of them next week. But I want to give you the match order here. We're going to put it out on the website as well. But the next matchup after Biscaglia will be Malcolm Robinson versus Michael Blockhouse, not Millage, which is really awkward seeing on the screen. And then Jeremiah Reno versus Colin Shraver. Andrew Marola versus Peyton Robb, Cody Phippen versus Aiden Reeves, Ronald Tucker versus Tony Cassiope, Brandon Whitman and then Joel Shapiro is going to be our main event. So pretty pumped about that. Thomas Gilman, Lauren Lovey, they're coaching the blue team, and then Corey Clark versus Allie Reagans. Allie Reagan is coaching the red team, which is really consists of all Iowa wrestlers. So we do have a good, pretty much everybody from Iowa is on the red team. So we're going to find out really, what Iowa can do here. And, hopefully it's not a lopsided dual win for the blue team this year.
Yeah, I feel like that was always Metcalf's team. He was always the blue team. And he's 2-0. It's kind of weird to have new coaches, new faces. But I'm definitely pumped up to have Gilman and Clark in the event coaching. That'll be really fun. Of course, having Lauren and Allie come in for the women's perspective too. That's a really nice thing for Carly and Felicity to have those women in their corners, I guess. Yeah, definitely looking forward to this event. I think we put together a nice card here, Tony, and I'm excited. Next week we'll be breaking down those last 6 matches.
So if you're pumped up for Night of Conflict, there's 2 options. Basically, you can sit at home, be a bum, and watch it on Flow, which you can do that, or you can come, skip football game, and come to Carver Hawkeye Arena. There's actually a Hawkeye Wrestling Club social from 4:30 to 6 is the planned time. So Mark Perry's going to be there. Hawkeye Wrestling Club members are going to be there. So if you want to come to Iowa City early, grab a couple drinks, grab some food before you go into the arena. It's going to be a show, and this is an event that does benefit the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. But this is about the kids in Iowa. I mean, we could have this event in Ames, we have this event in Des Moines. It's about the kids. It just happens to benefit the Hawkeye Wrestling Club this time, just like we do an event up for the Northern Iowa, the War at West Gym, when it benefits the Panther Wrestling Club. So tickets are $10, general admission. Floor tickets are $25 and VIP are $100, and you can check those out on IAwrestle.com. The link is there. And plenty of tickets. If you can't get them online, you can get us at the door. I think there will definitely be a line this year. It sounds like people are pretty pumped up for this event. We've sold quite a few tickets, so we just want to keep it rolling and put on a show for these guys. We got a lot of seniors here in this lineup, and let's start the year off with a bang. And we got one question here that just came in, Ross, that I wanted to touch on here before we go. From Brett Whelan, the goose chasing machine from Waverly Shell Rock. And this is a topic that we can get into in a later show after the Night of Conflict. But the headgear situation, that's something that at the Night of Conflict we will not have headgears. We will have USA Wrestling rules. He wants to know, have you seen these headgears that are kind of being more prevalent of having they're a big pad on the forehead, kind of go from the forehead clear back to the middle of the head. He thinks it's going to cause more concussions. What are your thoughts on some of these headgears that you've been seeing?
It's I guess I would have to actually hold one in my hand to know. I actually haven't been able to do that. I've seen, pictures of them, but you don't know how soft that padding is or how hard it is to know if you're going to use your head as a weapon. So I guess that a lot of my decision would weigh on that. To me, I think when they first started talking about this, I remember we've talked about this on a previous podcast. I'm in favor if you actually have something that you think can prevent concussions, or not prevent maybe, but lower the risk of it. It's just I'd like to see some proof that they're thinking it actually helps. So to me, I'm a fan if you got some medical
facts.
Yeah, if you got something you can lay in front of me that I can read, I'm cool with it. Otherwise, I don't think we need it. I think what is the college rules committee's talking about getting rid of headgear. So we got our college people saying that it doesn't even matter, and you think they wouldn't throw it away if they thought it had medical benefits. So to me, I don't view it as necessary unless you got something that can, sway my opinion different.
Well, Batsois is a brand new company. It's like it's a full on headgear. This thing, it's really light. It's hard to even explain without actually seeing it and holding it. Like you said, you don't know what it looks like, but the padding is actually thinner than a headgear, and they've got all these testing and a lot of money behind the testing to prove that it's helping out with concussions at the youth level, at the college level. I've heard there's been some colleges that are gonna roll out this headgear this year, so it'll be interesting to see what changes that happens. I'm a traditionalist. Like, I don't want to see the singlet go away. These new headgears are just kind of weird to me. But at the end of the day, if it's protecting our kids, our youth, then I definitely think it's important. But if there used to be a guy that I used to wrestle growing up, and they had a regular headgear. It was like the halos, but then he had this big, giant plastic piece on the front of his head, and I used to get scratches on my forehead, and I used to bleed all the time, and it was just bullshit. I mean, it was just huge right up there, and it would hurt. Now with these ones, the one that I've tried on, it's soft. You couldn't tell the difference between the side of your headgear and the front of the headgear. But those ones, I think Steve Monk, I think from North Dakota State, used to wear one, and I could just see people getting pissed off wrestling against him. I don't see those anymore. So I know there's another brand out there that has them, and that's a real thick piece. So I think just more testing, something new. I think our biggest problem will be the reason why we have so many concussions. It's not actually head-to-head contact. You have somebody shooting in at the same time that happens, but it's actually landing on the mat. So we've got 2-inch, 3-inch mats, tops, on gym floors. In duels and junior high duels, in our wrestling room, sometimes we have some extra padding, but we have zero padding for these mats because it's expensive. And I think that's our problem, not our headgears. I think our mats are the problem, or the surfaces that the mats are laying on. So if there needs to be another surface under the mat, maybe a little softer, we'll be okay. But I think that's our number one problem is the mats. But we'll get into this a little bit more after the Night of Conflict. I actually have a headgear now from Batsois. I'm going to take it in the Johnson Wrestling Room and roll around with these guys this year and see, how it feels and all that good stuff. So, Ross, you got anything else leading up episode 98 here? We got 99 next week. We're going to preview the rest of these matchups for the Night of Conflict.
Yeah, we'll be doing that. And then that means podcast 100 will be post Night of Conflict.
Post Night of Conflict will be episode 100. Looking forward to it, Ross, as always. We'll be back next week for the full-on preview of the Night of Conflict. Get all your information, as always, at IAwrestle.com. I'm Tony Hager. It's been Ross Bartachek. For everybody at IAwrestle, thanks for listening.
Know when the whistle go.